Hey everybody, it's me, Bryson Booker, back with another video about my Soundcraft Signature 16 console. Now, I've been getting some complaints about these videos. I really want to make these videos, and I really want to make them better. And so I tried to kind of answer some of your complaints here. I don't know why the signal is so noisy. It's probably something wrong with my cable, or something, I guess the console is higher than what this particular camera can take, because I don't believe that there's a pad on this camera. So please excuse the noise. I tried to keep the noise down this time, and it may be preamp noise, really, that's what's doing it, and this camera is just picking up that extra preamp noise. But please I'm trying to improve these videos, definitely, because they're important videos to many people, especially since there's not a lot of videos like this about consoles, amazing consoles like this, here on YouTube. So I'm trying to improve here. So today's video is about the channel EQ section on the Soundcraft Signature 16. Soundcraft derived this EQ from its Sapperye console. The Sapperye console was Soundcraft's boutique kind of TV production console / recording console that was released around the early 90s. And so this EQ that is included on the Signature series is based off the circuitry from the Sapperye console. And so that's what we're going to be testing today. And not only that, we're also going to be comparing it to kind of a lower quality console, just so you can hear the differences. Now, this is a semi-parametric EQ included on the Soundcraft Signature 16. On the Soundcraft Signature 10 and 12, non-multitrack and multitrack models, there is just a sweepable mid EQ. So that means it has one mid that's sweepable through, I think, about 3 or 4 frequencies, 5 frequencies, where you can sweep the mid and find your signature sound with that one. But this has a semi-parametric EQ, highs, high mids, low mids, and lows. I tried to show you the EQ as best I could without, me jiggling the camera around. So this is just a simple EQ test with my voice. I don't have any tracks to be played as of yet, but hopefully I plan to get some, maybe, to show you how it sounds on music. And so I'm just going to go through the frequencies one by one. And so right now the EQ is set completely flat. There's no cuts, there's no boost. This is how it sounds. 12 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 400 hertz, and 60 hertz, respectively. This is the EQ flat. Now, I'll add a little high end. And so that's a slight boost at 12 kilohertz. And, one reason why I love Soundcraft EQs, and you'll hear it when I compare it to the Behringer EQ that I have, or the EQ that's on the Behringer Xynex 802 mixer that's sitting behind the Soundcraft. You can't really see it. One thing I do like about Soundcraft EQs is they stay true to what frequency that you're cutting or boosting. And really, that's the simple way to put it. They call it asymmetric EQ, but for those of you who aren't really familiar with that terminology, that basically means that when you boost the high frequencies, you're going to get high frequencies. And sometimes some lower cost consoles, and basically consoles that are kind of semi-professional, they do this. When you boost the high frequency, you'll get also some high mids. So it'll sound more like this. So I just boosted my 2 kilohertz right here. So you'll get this. And it won't just be 12 kilohertz. It'll also be a little bit of 2 or 3 kilohertz as well. But with the position of the high mid set back to unity, you can just hear the highs boosted. And they're the highs boosted. The same thing with bass. So now I boosted 60 hertz. And other consoles, they'll do this. So they'll boost both 80 or 60 hertz as well as the 400 hertz range. And this will be what your bass will sound like. But Soundcraft knows better, and they actually make 60 hertz 60 hertz. And what you hear is 60 hertz. No other low, mid, mush, all that other stuff is not there. It's just 60 hertz respectively. Give it a bigger boost, as you can hear. and now it's set flat. So that's one reason why Soundcraft EQs are pretty legendary, is, you know, whatever frequency that they're boosting, they're going to boost that frequency. Whatever frequency you cut, you're going to cut that frequency, and you're going to hear that cut. The cut is kind of surgical, the way that cuts are done on this console, but yet musical. So yet it sounds pleasing to the ear. And now we're going to do a little bit of that now. I'm using a Shure SM58. And so what I'm going to do first is I hear, you know, kind of some woolliness in the low mids, which is basically kind of common for mics such as the Shure SM58 or 48 or any dynamic cardioid mic. You know, there's somewhere around the 400 hertz range is where most of them kind of get a little nasty. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut 400 hertz. And so as you can see, or well, here, my voice kind of cleared up remarkably well, and I don't sound so nasally. So let's add 400 hertz back. This is with 400 hertz boosted, and then we're going to cut it just like this. It's a bit surgical, but it gets the job done, and obviously I can sound a lot more clearer and a lot more articulate, especially at high SPLs, than I would if I would have had the 400 hertz in there. And so this is what it does when it cuts. So let's take 400 hertz completely out of the equation, and let's completely cut it like that. So this is without 400 hertz at all. And as you can hear, 400 hertz got dropped dramatically. So you really can't hear it at all. It's like it's not even there. And then I'm adding it back. Now, here it is at unity, and I'm cutting it again. So yes, it's a bit surgical, but it does get the job done, and it's very easy to find those frequencies that are very, very troublesome. And so now what I'm doing is I'm kind of sweeping the EQ a little bit. So here's 400 hertz. I'm going to add a slight boost to that, and then I'm going to sweep. So here's 2 kilohertz, back to 400 hertz, and then down to 80 hertz. And so you can hear that nastiness right in the 400 hertz, so I'm going to cut it. And that's it. Same thing with the high mids. Right now I'm at 2 kilohertz. So here's me boosting 2 kilohertz. And another thing that I have to say about this Soundcraft asymmetric EQ is the cuts are very narrow, as you could probably hear, and the boosts are wide. So when I boost 2 kilohertz, it's a wide boost. So it doesn't sound that harsh. So if you needed to emphasize a part in a guitar or emphasize your vocal, make it cut through just a bit, tiny bit more, you could add a little bit, you know, and it'll be a wide boost. It won't be so harsh and so weird when you boost it. But when you cut it, it's a narrow boost. And so you'll hear 2 kilohertz being cut right now. And so it's kind of a narrow boost. So it kind of takes a bit more out. Once again, so you can narrow on those frequencies that are driving you nuts and giving you feedback. And that's why they did that. So let's sweep here again. I gave a slight boost to 2K. Now we're going up to 8 kilohertz. And we're sweeping back. And now we're back in 400 hertz. And so now let's go back to 2 kilohertz. Kind of sounds brashy, so then we set it flat. Or you could take a little bit out if you wish to make it, you know, a bit more friendly to the ear, especially when speaking. And so, yeah, that's it. Basically, the EQ is very, very smooth. Once again, I'll add a little treble boost. Here's how the treble boost sound. Here's the treble cut. It cuts the treble only. It doesn't cut any high mids out. And then here's the EQ with just a slight cut at 400 hertz. And also a cut now at 60 hertz. And this is how my voice sounds on the Soundcraft Signature with EQ applied to an SM58. Sounds very smooth, sounds very natural. I love how it sounds. Sounds great. So now let's compare the EQ here to the Behringer Xynex EQ. Now the Behringer Xynex EQ just has a high, mid, and low control. And you're going to hear what I'm talking about when I say that the frequencies between the high and the high mids and the lows and the low mids overlap. And you're going to hear how that compares to how this Soundcraft console sounds. So I'll let you hear that now. Alright everybody, I'm back here. Once again, please excuse the noise. Like I said, my camera can't really take levels such as those delivered from a console or a mixer in general. Maybe I need an audio interface, probably. But please excuse the noise. I don't mean for the noise to be there, but I kind of have to supplement some volume here so I can stay at 0 dB on my camera. Okay, so now I'm on the Behringer Xynex 802. This is a compact console used for podcasting, small live events, like maybe a coffee house duo or something like that would use a console like this. But this is just a simple 3-band EQ, and I'm basically comparing it to what you just heard on the Soundcraft. And so you have highs at 12 kilohertz, mids at 2.5 kilohertz, and lows at 80 hertz. And so I'm just going to give this a high boost. As you can probably hear, you know, you're not just getting the highs, but you're getting some of the high mids. As you can hear, you know, this is the high boost that you get from the Behringer Xynex 802. And, you know, a lot of factors obviously play into that, cost being the biggest one. They claim that this EQ is British. And I mean, it's okay for what it is. It gets the job done, but I think a truly British EQ would be the Soundcraft Signature, definitely. So as you can hear, that's the high boost. I'm going to make a high cut. So now I just cut the highs, and now generally you can hear, you know, the sound is probably very muffled. Very, very muffled and very unappealing. And then when I add it back, now it's back to normal. Same thing with the mids. I'm going to boost the mids. When you boost mids, it sounds like you're going to get about 400, 500 hertz mixed in with that 2.5K. And it also sounds a bit harsher too. So there's 2.5K boosted. And here's 2.5K cut. And 2.5K cut completely. And then here we go, back flat. Now you're going to hear some of that low-mid mush I was talking about earlier when I boost 80 hertz. So this is 80 hertz plus other frequencies, probably such as around 500, 400. You know, these are kind of in the ballpark guesses. So that was a boost at the base, and here's a cut. And obviously half of my oomph that I had in my voice is practically gone. And now the EQ is set flat. So this is how the Behringer EQ sounds. And now I'll switch back over to the Soundcraft to finish up this video. Alrighty guys, I'm back on the Soundcraft. And as you can hear, hopefully, this EQ obviously provides a lot more flexibility, obviously, and sounds a lot more cleaner and smoother. It's not so, it's to the point where, yes, it does get the job done, but it gets the job done musically and doesn't really take away from the source and what the source is providing you. And so I'm back basically with a cut at 400 hertz and a cut at 60 hertz. This is generally where I'll start when I EQ vocals. And it's a general starting point, like I said. And obviously, what I was talking about earlier with this high boost, this is only the highs. You're not going to get some extra high mid mush coming, you know, from the high control. It's just going to be highs only. And that's what many people have grown to love about Soundcraft EQs, is they really stay true to what you're doing as an engineer. So, you know, the sound isn't going to sound like something from something else when you're obviously EQing it a different way. You're going to hear what you're doing. Just like I did something crazy right there. You're going to definitely hear that. And, you know, the console's not going to lie to you. If you give a boost at 80 hertz, it's going to be a boost at 80 hertz. You know. And that's the best part. if you make a big cut at 80 hertz, it's gonna sound like you cut 80 hertz. You know, so that's, to me, that's the greatest part. You know, the console EQ stays true to what you're doing, and it doesn't lie to you. It's always true. It's very smooth and it's very musical. So I love this EQ that's on the Soundcraft Signature. Obviously, you know, the Behringer Xynex EQ has its purposes and uses, but I would say, you know, for a true work of art, this EQ does a fabulous job for any source that you put on it.